Saturday at 2 p.m. on WTAN FM 106.1 and AM 1340 for Legal Candy with attorney Candace Colucci. She's your guide to hurricane-related issues, property insurance law, and more sizzling legal topics. Get ready for a lively legal experience. Make your Saturday sweet with Legal Candy on WTAN FM 106.1 and AM 1340.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
It's now time for Connecting Caregivers with author, speaker, caregiver advocate, and talk show host Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for caregivers.
On the world today, it's time to lift you up. It's time to celebrate. Good afternoon and welcome to Connecting Caregivers with me, Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregivers with love, laughter, and lessons learned. On the show where you can find help and hope. Because we're just here to let you know about resources, to let you know that you're not alone, because caregiving can be really tough. And I always say that your caregiving experience can be the most horrific experience of your life, or close to beautiful, depending on how you handle it.
Or depending on the day.
Or depending on the day. Yes.
Maybe a little bit of both.
So that voice you hear is Elli Baldwin, and she's here with Lisa Keith from Sunways Senior Living Concierge. We're going to talk in a couple of minutes. We also have my friend Lori Collins from MJ Travel, and we're going to talk about senior travel because I'm a senior and I like to travel, so it's good to know all that stuff. But with me, as always, is my best friend, my co-host, and my sidekick, not psychic, Lynn Thornley. Good afternoon. How are you today?
Good. Happy National Caregivers Day.
Today's National Caregivers Day?
Yes.
Really?
You know what? It's
Didn't
like,
know that.
there's too many of these days, though.
You only get a
It's
day,
like
not a month.
National Family Caregivers Day, a month, this or that, so
Right,
well.
day is.
Wow.
Well, this is a good
that's exciting.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy to be with you, ladies.
to be doing this today then. That's perfect.
You're like doing homework here or something?
No, I watched the Today Show. They tell me still.
There you go. There you go. File it away.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to do is I want to give a shout out to our newest listeners. We have Cookie in Clearwater. We have Maria in Largo and Liz in St. Pete.
Welcome, ladies.
And like we always say, there's always plenty of room around the Connecting Caregivers table for more listeners, whether you listen when we're live on AM and FM or on Facebook or on YouTube or my website or wherever it is. Like I said, we're here just to help you. So I am so excited to have Elli and Lisa here. I do a lot of work with them. You guys know I'm really careful about who I hang out with.
Yep.
And who I refer.
Yeah, hang out with me.
Not for business,
There
though,
you go.
so we can get in all the trouble we want. But who I associate myself with. And one of the biggest things is people always ask me about this community, that community, this. And I don't have time to babysit communities.
Right.
And I said, I have friends that do that, though. And that's why I hooked them up with you guys, because I think it's a daunting task, just the thought of maybe moving your loved one out of their home.
Yep.
It's like totally daunting. And then how do I do it? And where do I go? And who do I do it? And when I first started the show, A Place for Mom, you know those people.
Familiar.
Yeah. And they contacted me and they wanted to be a sponsor on the show. And I was like, no, thank you. Because when I was looking for a place for my mom, this was when we were in New York and we contacted. The only thing that happened was I got so much stuff in the mail and so many telemarketing people calling me that it made me more confused than ever.
Right.
And I think when people think of businesses like yours, that's what they're thinking of. But I tell them, no, these ladies will find out what kind of place you want to go to, what your finances are, what you can afford, where's your territory where you want to be. And then they take you by the hand.
Literally.
Yes.
Literally. We are local.
Yes. Take you by the hand.
Yep, exactly.
Take you to the different communities. Introduce you to the different people. Let them see what it's like because they don't have a clue.
Right. No, for sure. And I mean, I think that one of the things too, being that Lisa and I, and frankly, everybody on our Sunways team at a certain level have all navigated this process ourselves in some way. Yeah. Right. And so because of that, we're not coming into the process as somebody that's been in this healthcare industry forever. We're coming at it from a family member that was overwhelmed and
Right.
stressed and trying to navigate all of those things and learning things along the way and being like, oh my gosh, I don't want others to make the mistakes, or I want to be able to share the
I wish
information.
I knew that when I was taking care of
Exactly,
my mom.
right? And so us approaching it as a client, because we were a client without being one,
Right.
I think is a big piece of what makes not only how we communicate and how we help our families, but even how our business model is set up, right? Because technically Sunways falls under the bucket or falls into the bucket of a senior placement service, right?
But you're more than that.
Exactly. But our business model, from day one, my husband and I starting the company, because we needed so much more than that, we created a business model that, yes, we can help with placement, but a lot of times, like nobody wakes up one day as a caregiver and is like, you know what? I really want to learn today about where I can place my loved one, right? It's a lot of...
And sometimes it's an emergency.
I'd say 80% of the time it's emergency, right? And so for us, it's about how can we have these conversations and be supporting and layering in information before you need placement, right? How are we connecting you with support groups or taking time off to travel or some home care? Like how can we start to support you,
whatever.
but then also sprinkle in these conversations about what's an emergency plan or what does this look like, so that the anxiety is taken away and it's an easier transition, even if it's a transition ever needed at all.
Right.
And we're prepared.
Yeah. So that's the goal. But I think meeting families where they're at is kind of what separates us.
I think the big deal is caregivers.
Mm-hmm.
Once you do this and once you make your preparations, caregiving is better for you, because every day there are caregivers that die before the person they're taking care of.
Yeah, something like isn't it like 60
like
to 70%?
65%
Yeah,
over the age of 70 or something like that.
Yeah.
Crazy numbers. It is getting better because I think we're out there more and we're having these conversations more than we ever did before. But we don't want that to happen. We want you to be able to take care of your loved one and take care of yourself.
Right.
And when you have a team, you're like a team.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a team that works with you. I mean, Lisa, when you first meet somebody, what's their first kind of question, or what do they say? It's like,
I mean, I feel
I don't
like,
want to do this.
yeah. And like Elli was saying, nobody wakes up. A lot of times, nobody wakes up saying, "Oh, I really want to move into assisted living." It can be a scary, it's a scary unknown. So really, just diving in deep. Like I typically start off with, "Tell me what's going on."
Yeah.
And you get a big earful. It's like that release, like letting it all out, and then just really being able to help provide support and guide them and educate them on like the best resources that are out there.
And letting them know they're not alone.
Right.
Letting them know that, because you don't know about any of this stuff.
Right. You don't. Yeah, exactly.
You know,
you don't know about the resources. And a lot of times, even knowing about our service. And that's why we're so grateful for you, not only connecting caregivers with our service, but other things as well. It's like, unless you are thrown into that crisis pool and a case manager or a hospital, like somebody is like, oh yeah, call that person. A lot of times, you don't know what you don't know, right? And our goal is like, okay, it's great that we can support those that are in that crisis, but how wonderful would it be if we can support more people to avoid the crisis, right? Like, how do we get 2 steps ahead of that, so that we can start to layer in that information and it's not so overwhelming if and when the crisis does occur. But for us, technically being that senior placement service, most families don't even know a service like ours exists. So like if you're going to sell your house or you need a lawyer, you Google real estate agent, you Google lawyer, right? For us, you're not even Googling
you don't even know the question.
Senior placement, right? Because as a senior placement service, we are a free service for families. No small print.
You heard that.
No
free.
ifs, ands, or buts. We are a free service for families always, no matter what if we only have one conversation or if we are having 100 conversations over a 5-year period, right? How we monetize is if we end up helping a family move into a community that we would have recommended to them,
Right.
then we get a referral fee from the community.
Right.
But the nice thing about, again, our business model and how we're set up is that we work with all of the communities in our area. So it really allows us to be that unbiased resource.
Well, it's so different too, because lots of times when people talk to me and they think of a community, they think of the big communities,
Right.
the big ones that are maybe advertised the most. That's not a community for everybody.
No.
Not
for
and
most.
there's a ton of communities that people don't even know about.
Yeah.
These small communities that are nestled in somewhere that have 12 beds,
Yeah.
or 20 beds or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now, how would someone be able to
Yeah.
find that if they didn't have you guys? They would,
Right. Well, they don't. Right. And the problem is not only do they not find necessarily all of their options to be able to flip those stones, when you do go off the street and just tour a community, you just call the front desk and say, hey, I'd like to tour and see the community. You're touring with their director of sales.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Right. Every community, typically will have a director of marketing and sales. So what are they doing? They're selling you on their community. Right. And so the benefit of having an unbiased advocate
person,
like
right?
us, even if we go and tour 3 or 4 communities together, we're able to kind of shield our clients. We call it like
From
the
the
mama bear
oversales.
of overdoing that. But we're also going to debrief at the end and say, hey, yes, we were very clear on the pros based on what they told us, but let's talk about the cons. It's a little bit further than where you wanted to go. Did you see that lip in the shower? What about this? What about that? They didn't have all the dining. Now let's go to the next one. What were the pros there? What were the cons, right? Because every
Place.
option is going to have pros and cons, and anybody that tells you otherwise is BSing you,
Yes.
right? So it's helpful in that way for families to be able to have a safe place, to be able to feel through that and think through that, to make sure that they're making the best decision for themselves. And not only even just between communities, it's also like, all right, let's sit down and compare the pros and cons for your loved one staying home.
Right. Maybe they're not time
And
for
making a
community
move
yet.
because, again, there are pros and cons to both of those situations, and it's individualized to the
But you're
client.
going to discuss those pros and
most
cons.
important.
A place for mom is just going to go.
Right.
Go.
Mhm.
Go to that place. You got those fancy brochures. You got that big thing, but that's not what it's about. We're taking care of our loved ones.
Yeah.
We're taking care of people that are like so important to us. I want somebody to hold me by the hand. I want somebody to let me know what the options are, because you know what? I don't know nothing. I just know my loved one is declining. I don't even know what home health is.
Right.
I don't know what respite care is.
Yeah.
There's a lot that leads up to that.
Totally.
And then every family is just so different. So I think the main key is really educating them, but, talking them through, trying to figure out and work out like what's the best for my loved one.
Right.
And really, owning in on that and not focusing on, a big fancy place or.
And that being said, sometimes the big fancy place is exactly what is
that
most
person
appropriate
wants.
and makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But there's so many nuances to making those decisions. It is amenities and the feeling, just like if you're looking to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home and you go and look at 10 different homes. Well, every one is right around the same amount of square footage, but they're completely different look and feel, right?
Right.
It's the same thing for these communities. It's not a one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's amenities, it's care levels. Not all of these communities can have different licensing through the state of Florida, right? So do they have nurses on staff? What kind of care can they perform?
What kind of care
Food.
does your loved one need?
Yeah. Food, size of apartment, finances. I mean, if the
Pets.
money isn't there, that a lot of times is dictating what that pool is of what, are they a veteran? Can we get them veteran benefits?
Right.
Do we need to pull in Medicaid down the line? There's so many things. And so when somebody calls in to us, we start with an intake call. And that's essentially just like Lisa said, it's Okay, so it's like almost like lay down on the couch, right? Go ahead, lay down. Tell me. But it's us trying to get that big picture snapshot. What are the family dynamics? Who's actually the decision maker? All of these things. And then we're able to really hone in what's needed today to alleviate stress from this caregiver or from this family. And then what can we integrate in the next week or two? Where can we be in the next month or two? Right. And just kind of peeling the onion back.
And the whole thing, once again, it's about being prepared. Being prepared. It makes everybody less stressed. People ask me all the time, when is it time? When is it time for my loved one? And the two things I just got to say to them is when they're not safe anymore and when you're ready to jump off the bridge. But I don't want to wait until you're ready to jump off the bridge.
Yeah.
And I don't want to wait until the safetyness is an issue. I want you to try to look at this stuff ahead of time, because if safetyness is an issue or whatever, you're thinking about that all day long. Is mom going to fall? Is she going to be able to take a bath by herself? Or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And once you make those preparations, you're good to go.
Right. And I think that it's important to know that just because you've explored the information and even made those preparations does not mean you have to do anything with it.
Right.
You just have it set there and you set it over in the corner. And if you need to hit the button, then we put it in place. But,
But also knowing if they're working with you and they may have that in place, but now it's a year later and maybe mom needs a different community now.
Sure.
So you got a whole bunch of other stuff in place, but then you guys can just step in and say,
right. You're not starting from scratch.
Here.
Right. Yeah. You're not starting from scratch. But I think that a lot of the time, the reason why, caregivers or family members don't call us or reach out for that life jacket is like they don't know what the first step is. They don't know what questions to ask. It's knowing that you don't need to know any of that. Like you call us, we have a conversation, and we're going to be able to, based on the information that you're sharing, we know what questions to ask you to get the answers we need. And we're going to be able to kind of paint that picture. And the amount of caregivers that express such a relief, of even
knowing,
because you could say the word assisted living to somebody or memory care to somebody or even independent living, but let's just say assisted living and memory care, and depending on their personal experience could bring up 100 different emotions, right? I could say assisted living to somebody and they could picture the nursing home that they went in 1973 to visit their grandmother who passed away. And they're like, never. It's like, that's not what we're talking about, right? So it's, you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of times just exploring and touring, again, not meaning that you have to act on that. It's almost like that sigh of relief of like, oh my gosh. So if this did have to happen, this actually wouldn't be bad.
Well, the caregiver.
This is okay.
This is my responsibility.
Right.
This is my husband, my mom, whatever. No one can do it like me. It takes a village. It takes a village.
Yeah.
When you're gonna have a new baby, everybody comes in, they have a party, they tell you about everything. Where's the best place to get diapers, everything in town. And you're taking care of your loved one.
They run away.
Yeah, well, that's another thing too.
Right.
And we need to talk about what's going on with our loved one. We need to let people know, because people want to help you. People really do want to help you.
I agree with that so much.
And
that's the hardest. That it's not even. It's like we always talk about, like you have to ask for help. It's like that's only 50% of it. Then you have to accept it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think that's 75%.
Right? It's like, oh, I can do that. No, I'm good. I'm good. It's like, okay, no, it's.
Well, I always say caregivers have the AAA dilemma. They don't ask for help, they don't accept help, and they don't acknowledge themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
And then what happens is they're home at night crying, nobody's helping me. Well, you said no to everybody that wanted to help you.
Well, exactly. After a while, right? It's like, oh, she's good, or he's good.
Or
right?
they just don't want me in their space. But open it up. I've told this story 100 times before. After my mom passed away, I was in the supermarket, and one of my friends said, "How you doing, Linda?" I said, "I'm okay." And she said, "I'm sick of hearing that from you." So I have to tell you, when you took care of your mother, you stole my joy. So I did what? She said, "I could see you swimming in quicksand, and every time I asked to help you, you said, 'No, I'm okay.' So not only did you not let me help you, you never gave me the opportunity to meet your mother."
Yeah.
But maybe that's some of the stuff we have to think about.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
And as much as we think we're the bomb caregiver and we're the only one that can do it, sometimes your loved one is sitting there and underneath their breath is saying, "Can you please go away for a while? Can I see somebody else?"
Right.
Good
Right.
point.
Yeah.
You know, when caregivers tell me, "Oh, I just went to the dentist and found out I've been grinding my teeth for a year, but I'm okay. I could do it."
Mhm.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
okay,
It's
I can do
it's
it.
the grin and bear it. But I think you bring up a great point with stealing the joy, because I mean, realistically, like anybody, the times that we feel the most fulfilled and joyful is when we know we impacted somebody else, right? When we know we helped somebody, right? Like that's the warm and fuzzy feeling. And we've all, everybody here and everybody that's listening has at some point in their life felt that feeling of helping another person and feeling so good about that. And it's realizing, like, when somebody reaches out and asks to help you, you're robbing them of the opportunity to go home and feel fulfilled because they and that could be they picked up the groceries at the grocery store for you that you already ordered online. Like, we're not talking about like, these earth-shattering things, right? They sat with your loved one for an hour while you went and got your hair done finally. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
But those little things are like, they wouldn't be asking you if they didn't want to be able to help you, right? So, yeah.
So where can all listeners find you?
Right here.
Phone numbers, websites.
On our website at www.sunwaysseniorliving.com.
And your phone number?
Yeah, and give your cell phone number.
And our phone number, my cell phone number is 727-409-6658.
All right, and all the information is on my website. If you haven't written it down, you can go look at it. Please give these gals a call. They can help you. We're trying to make your journey easier for you and your loved one, because you know what? In the end, you want to be the wife or the daughter. You don't want to necessarily be the person that's changing diapers or trying to make someone eat. And I see that what happens all the time when someone goes into a senior community and the loved one is always, "I'm so worried about how my husband's going to hate me, because he went into this community." And then she goes there like a week later and he's dancing with someone. He says, "I'm good. See you later, Mary."
Right.
So don't think about the hard time for your loved one. It's probably going to be harder for you.
Yeah. Right.
But let's talk about it so it's not harder for you.
Yeah.
And on that website, sunwaysseniorliving.com.
There are tons of resources.
Exactly. So even if you're listening and you're not in a place to need to or want to call us, still go there, because we have a caregiver blog that we've been doing that for probably 4 years at this point, and it literally gets updated every week. So there's so many articles, like just short, sweet little tips, tricks that we've kind of learned along the way from our clients. There's veteran benefits information. There's free printouts about, a million different things. So there's just so much there that's all free, accessible. You don't have to do anything. So check out the website for sure.
And if you look at all it and you're a little overwhelmed, just call them.
Exactly. There you go.
All right, now it's time to hear from our wonderful partners. So don't go away. We'll be right back on Connecting Caregivers Radio.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help, because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
Are you getting older, or are you taking care of somebody who is? Getting older creates new problems you probably never imagined. One of the big ones is, how do you pay for care? Care in your home, care in an assisted living facility, or care in a nursing home. Did you know that nursing home care in our community can cost up to $12,000 per month? For the last 33 years, our office has helped families access benefits, including Medicaid, VA, and PACE, to help pay for the cost of long-term care. Regardless of what your assets are or what your income is, you can qualify for these benefits. Proper planning and guidance are absolutely necessary to avoid being wiped out. Let us help. If you are in care or heading in that direction, we can help solve that problem. Take action now to obtain benefits to pay for the cost of care. Here are the 4 things that you need to do. 1, get a new power of attorney. Your old one probably isn't good enough. Get a healthcare surrogate and a living will. 3, get an estate plan that will not disqualify you from benefits. And 4, get a plan to qualify for Medicaid, PACE, or VA benefits to pay for the long-term care costs. Call us today for a free consultation, 727-539-0181, or go to flmedicaid.com and download our free book on Medicaid and planning for long-term care. I'm Sean Scott. I'm here to help.
My mom was getting older, but she was able to live pretty independently until recently. When her case manager told me she would be discharged from rehab in just a few days, I didn't know what to do. But I knew for sure that she couldn't go back living alone at home. So that's when I contacted Sunways Senior Living Concierge. My senior living concierge, Lisa, was there for me through the whole process and was a free service for us to compare in-home care options and how that cost would compare to assisted living. With Lisa's help, we found a great new home for Mom, and she is thriving. Take it from me, don't go through this journey alone.
Hi, I'm Elli Baldwin, co-founder and president of Sunways Senior Living Concierge. We're a free placement and concierge service for families to help compare senior living communities and find the best place for you or a loved one. Call us today at 727-314-6451 or find us online at sunwaysseniorliving.com.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
And we are back, and I just love my friends from Sunways. So think about what we talked about today and just make a phone call. So now I have my friend Lori Collins with me. Hello, dear friend.
How are you?
So most of you guys know I went to Egypt in November, and I went with Lori and her group called MJ Tours. And so we're going to talk a little bit about senior travel today and things you need to look at. And I just want to let you know one thing. When I went to Egypt, there were 12 of us in our group, and 2 were in wheelchairs, and 1 woman was legally blind. And nobody missed a beat. We were able to go everywhere and do everything, and it all depends on who your tour guide is and who your people are.
Exactly.
So I was so grateful for all of that.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about senior travel and what people should look for and what kind of questions they should ask.
I love to travel, so
we know that.
I know, and I leave next Wednesday for Australia and New Zealand and stuff. So, but as we age, there's a lot of things we have to consider. And so when I went on a cruise with my parents, I was the 5th youngest person on the boat. And every time I would go into the dining room, I'd do, "Hey, Dad!" And everybody would turn around and I go, "Not you, not you." Or I would say, "Where's that old guy with the white hair?" And they would all have to go, "Yeah, that's my dad." So I think that there's ways to travel and there's times to travel, right? But always you have to consider your age, your limitations, your medication. So a couple of things I always say is, where do you want to go? I mean, who thought we would take 2 wheelchairs and legally blind to Egypt?
Right.
And we had a great time.
It was perfect.
We were able to rent wheelchairs, and we were able to set up with people to push them so that the caregiver didn't have to push. And so every single person enjoyed that trip.
And you know what? And every person on the trip, you get to know each other, and everybody just chips in. Everybody's watching out for everybody. That's one of the things I really enjoyed with that.
Yeah. And so I think the first thing is deciding where you want to go, and then look at the things that are important to you. So for example, if you're going to go on an adventurous trip, I would do it sooner rather than later.
Yes.
If you're going to do cruising, then maybe you save that. My girlfriend says, "I'm not going on a cruise until I'm older."
Yeah.
And she goes, "I got to do all the adventurous stuff first."
That makes
absolutely.
sense.
So, and we're going to Easter Island in November to
Where is Easter Island?
It's off of Chile. So it's actually Rapa Nui, where they have the moai, all the big statues and stuff.
Cool.
So she's going to stand in front of the moai on her 65th birthday, which I said, well, are we sacrificing something, or are we just there? So a couple of things to get started, though, is first off, how do you get there? How do you afford it?
Right.
And so I always say, if you're going to go by car, get a credit card for a hotel, a chain, so that way you're building up points and things that you want. And eventually you can trade that in for hotel stays. So there's one way. If you buy gas and pay for food and whatever, put it on one card, pay it off every month, and then use those points to build those free hotel stays. And then if you want to travel internationally, like I have an airline credit card. So I use American, and I have tons of miles, which I'm excited to trade in for a first class seat, but I think those just over time, you build those points up through your credit card.
And I think the thing is too, if you're going to plan for a big trip, it's probably going to be 10 months, a year ahead of time. So then every month you can put something towards it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be one big,
Those points add up. I mean, even on mine, for example, they have a little flash sale and it says 10 times the points if you buy, from PetSmart.
Right.
And I got my old dog. So I'll spend $100 and get 1,000 points.
Yeah.
Just manipulating it like that. So being able to utilize those. The second thing I think is so important is travel insurance. Now, one of my cards has travel insurance included in it. So it has medical evacuation and a couple things. But there's two types of insurance really, which is total trip insurance. It's very expensive. It's very, very expensive. But at the same time, there's also the medical evacuation. And the medical and the evacuation thing is the key thing you have to have. So even though my credit card will pay for a hotel for me or pay for extra clothes if I lose my suitcase, and it's so important, though, to have that medical specific coverage. And the difference is, for example, when I went to Antarctic, to protect my entire trip was like $2,500. But to do the medical evacuation, the $500,000 of medical evacuation and coverage was $51.
Oh, yeah.
So if something
Silly
happened,
not to.
Exactly, because I knew that I could transfer the cruise. If something happened beforehand, I would be able to transfer that trip to another date. But if I'm stuck somewhere, and we saw that the grandma that was in Orlando, and she was from Britain, and she was there, and she got sick, and the medical coverage is astronomical. So again, I want to come home from a different country. So I always buy that separate policy. And when I go this time to Australia, New Zealand, Bali and stuff, my insurance for that was $136. But it's totally worth it.
I have it with the person who's burying me. If I die, they'll bring me home.
Exactly.
That's a good thing to
But the other thing is being aware of where you're going and then making sure that you have accommodations for that. So maybe you don't want to take a cane with you, but a walking stick, the poles that they have, those are super cool.
Yeah.
And I see them a lot more than I used to. And I'm telling you, we were in Bhutan and we were climbing up to the Tiger Temple, and it was straight up. And you know me, I like stairs on a good day, but we were going straight up, and I don't need a stick. I don't need a walking stick. Well, on the way down, it was straight down, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm so over. I need it. And someone gave me their stick to borrow. And I went down step by step. So I know my limits now. I don't like climbing. I don't like hills.
I think you just make everybody in the group have a stick. When I went to Peru, that's what they did. They're like, you need a stick, you need a stick, you need a stick.
And you don't think about it until you need it. But again, what if I were to fall?
Right.
Every time I would do something, people go, geez, Lori. And I go, look, I'm a fall prevention specialist. This is scary. No, there's no rail. So again, I think knowing that if you need a wheelchair, see if they can accommodate that.
And
See
so
if
many
they
places
can-
are accommodating these
They
days.
are. So you go to a museum and you ask for a wheelchair to
Yep.
borrow. You borrow it, you rent it, whatever. And in our case, we had people that were able to push. So I think we paid $15 or $20,
Yeah.
and they pushed them the whole day, and that was amazing.
That
So
was amazing.
so you have to look at how could you do it. Now, when I went to Antarctic, and a great website which we use to go on the trips there was Antarctic Travel Group on Facebook. And Neil had a group that he put together, and we went on a cruise. And there was a gentleman who was in a wheelchair, and he said, "I'm here, I'm good, I'll see everything from the side." I'll tell you what, he got off on every single stop.
Yeah,
They
that's
carried him onto the boat. He then got in, they put his wheelchair in, they took him onto shore, and they were able to push him in Antarctic and South Georgia and stuff. And he said it was the most amazing thing. He had very different expectations of what he could do. But again, accommodating, knowing. Now, our group, both of those folks could walk. They just couldn't walk far and
Right.
a lot.
Or for
So we
long.
said, "Hey, pop yourself in a chair and let's go." So it was more than they ever anticipated.
Oh,
And I
much
was
more.
so grateful that we had that
Yeah.
experience.
And they
with
were so
them.
grateful too.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And just the things that they never thought they would see because of their
Mhm.
limitations. And I say there is no limitations, they're just accommodations. So
And I want to
So-
say, give another clue too here. When you're, say you can't afford it, you don't need nothing for Christmas from your kids or your birthday or Mother's Day. Just tell them to send you some money towards your travel fund. And I think if you tell your kids that, they'll be so much happier
Yeah.
just
yes.
knowing that. So just think about it. If you want to send something to your mom or your dad or whoever it is, send them some money towards a trip.
Well, I have a question for you. I don't know if you would know this, but if you're traveling from Canada, can you get that evacuation?
Mhm.
Because my cousins come. Well, my mom used to come for 6 months. She used to have to pay $2,000 so that she could be treated in the United States. But would be that cheap that you don't need that insurance? You just need the evacuation insurance?
Yeah, so they have medical and evacuation medical coverage policies, and they're good for the world. So it's based on where you go. And then sometimes they even have year-long policies, which I hope someday I'm going to need.
Yeah.
I'll just buy the whole year.
Yeah.
But it covers you wherever you go. So again, so if I have Medicare, right, and I go to another country, that may not be covered.
Right.
But if I have this travel medical insurance, then it would be. So I think you go online, you know where you're going, you know how old you are, you know what you're going to do. And then you call up a couple companies and you get some quotes for them, asking them what they cover. And then again, for me, I want to go home in a nice.
Well, it's very reasonable. I mean, as I said, my mother paid $2,000 to come down here because
Yep.
Canada is very cheap for their medical, or we're very
Yes.
expensive. But if she could have just been evacuated,
Mhm. So look for those policies online.
and it's
again,
called
it's
what?
it's just travel insurance, but you're looking for a medical evacuation. So a medical/evacuation policy. And then you can talk to those folks and say, I really just want to cover if I get injured
Right.
and if I have to be brought home.
Right.
And I want that covered. So if I have to cancel my trip, bummer,
Yeah.
But if I'm hurt, and Italy, a friend of mine I met in Antarctica, she was trying to cross the road in Italy, and the traffic was zooming up, and instead of just keeping going, she could have just kept walking. She stopped, and the motorbike went and
Oh, God.
smacked her, and she was in the hospital. So those are things you want to be able to cover, and again, it's a peace of mind.
Well,
You know,
then I'm
we
not so
talk
afraid about going on the trip.
Exactly. And so the other thing in terms of picking a trip, I always say, so ask friends, ask family, look at reviews. Always, always, always look at reviews. So this summer I'm going to South Africa. And so we have a travel company that is providing all the travel services for us. But I looked at every one of the resorts that we're going to, every one of the safaris, and I read all of the the reviews. So now I know at one of the stops, I need mosquito netting, I need earplugs, I need a couple of different things because of the reviews that I read. Now, if you want to stay local, for example, if you want to stay in the United States, there's a bus company here in town that's called Travel is Fun.
Oh, yeah,
And
I know
they
them.
do great
Yeah.
trips. They
Day
go all
trips
over the United States.
And weekend trips
Yeah.
and all sorts of trips.
And so that's a fun way to kind of cut your teeth if you want to do a small group or a small short trip, or whether you want to book with one of their tours. They're guided, they're fun. They certainly know when to stop and how long to stop and where to go. So they're very, very organized, even to the point of they have a little umbrella thing that they put on one side of the bus, and that's the people that get up first. And then the next time, the other side of the bus gets up first. So you got to follow. So you have to be able to do that. But it's very organized. And the other thing, for example, when we're going to go to Rapa Nui, we looked online and saw Travel Zoo had a really cool one. And it was $2,600 to go to Rapa Nui, and you get the hotel beforehand, then you go to fly to the island and stay and do all that stuff. And so my friend Brenda said, I'll bet I could do that cheaper. So we did the same exact hotels, the same exact flights, the same exact itinerary, and it was only $1,600.
$1,000.
So we saved $1,000, and we were able to, now what we're going to do is go to Patagonia. So we're going to fly from Chile over to Buenos Aires, and then we're going to go down to Patagonia, stay for a couple of nights, do the glaciers and a couple of fun things, and then come back and come home. So you can mirror Travel Zoo or Gate One, take a look at their trips, or even consider going on one of their trips. That way, it kind of breaks you into being more confident to travel.
But what I like with you, Lori, because this is something we talked about before the show, about next year, about us going to Italy, you can make a trip for us.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So, your family all goes, we want to get together, and everybody just talks about it. Nobody does nothing about it.
Yep.
So, I said we want to go to Italy next year. So, Lori's going to get back to me what months are good and what we can do. And then we can start working on it. And we have a year to save up for it.
Mm-hmm. So, and the other thing, for example, if anybody's ever wanting to go to Egypt, we have a great program set up with MJ Tours. And that's, Hisham is our guide over there.
Fabulous.
He
wonderful.
Is so
fabulous.
And so if you want to set up a trip, I will take an escorted trip over there. I do it every year. I go with a group of people that we kind of cobble together, those that are interested and a little nervous maybe, but everything is covered.
It was a trip of a life. First of all, just 12 days with my daughter, number one. But everything we did. And cruising down the Nile River. And if you wanted, you could go on a camel, or you could go on a hot air balloon, or you could go paragliding like me. And just going to the spice places and going to the essential oils. It was fabulous. Going to Hisham's house for dinner, having a homemade Egyptian dinner there.
Yes. And so you want to.
And it's not scary. People kept saying to me, you're going to Egypt. Is it scary? Is it scary? No, it wasn't scary at all.
Exactly. And you do have to be conscientious about it. If you look at the State Department website, you'll never travel. Yeah. If you look at the CDC guidelines, you'll never travel. But again, if you look at the reviews, if you look at the spots, and then decide some fun things. So when we go to South Africa, we're actually, the last day that we're there, we're going to go to the Cradle of Civilization. And we found that online. We went to Viator Tours and looked at all the options and said, let's go there. So we're going to go to that, and they have a museum, and you can go through the caves, and it's a 1-day thing. So those are the nice things that can come with going with an organized person who will help put the travel together for you, or to find a company that will sponsor everything. And one of the things you want to look at is, if you go with Travel Zoo or Gate One, some of them are escorted and some are not, which means they send you a pile of stuff and you have to go,
you got to find your way.
You got to find your way. You got to get the rental car. You got to find the train track. No. Yeah. But some people enjoy that.
Yeah, but some people can do that.
But if you want to go with just enjoying, and again, I never rule out the travel by cruise ship, the travel by,
You're either a cruiser or you're not.
I can't go in the water, so.
And that's an example.
Yeah.
So flying somewhere and be able to enjoy the area, and finding places to do. I love traveling with Danielle, who's a friend of mine, Danielle and Leona, that I travel with a lot. They are so adventurous about finding things. And so over Christmas, we're going to go to Germany, and we've got on Christmas Day, we have one of those clear igloos that we're going to go have dinner in,
So cool.
in the middle of.
And they have all the Christmas market
Yes,
there
so
in
we're
Germany.
going to be at a Christmas market.
It's so fabulous.
So again, those are the things that we're building up to. And because she has status, she was able to get us an upgrade on the flight. So
that's nice.
I'm super excited.
But I like the part that you can plan a trip for us. Like I said to you, I want to go to Rome. I want to go here. I want to go there. There's certain places I know, and then you'll tell me about other stuff. But,
yes.
Sometimes you go on a website and it's like, no, I don't really want to go there. I want to go somewhere else. Like I looked up some in Italy. I don't care about going to Venice. Maybe someday I want to go to Rome.
Yeah.
I know what the certain things I want. And to be able to build up a trip around that.
Yeah. And there's cool things, especially because if you have somebody, so I've been to Rome, right? And so we did the big trip and we were looking for the steps that Jesus went up to when he was crucified, the steps that he went up to.
My heart.
And we couldn't find it. We were zeroed in on it. We were looking around, we're like, it's here. Where is it? Well, there was this massive billboard, and right below it was a small door. And we went inside, and oh my gosh, there's this amazing church. And Brenda went up the stairs on her knees, and there's small glasses where you can look in and see the blood of Christ. And the stuff, if you cried in Egypt, you're going to cry in Rome. So I know where that is. So having somebody who's been there or who can do that is
makes
so
a big difference
helpful.
too, because they already know the area and they know about the transportation, and they know it's so nice when you're with a group. You just, okay, here's your ticket. You're not waiting online nowhere. You're not going to anything. If you go into a museum and maybe you need the earphone thing so you can hear better, they just bring it to you.
Yes.
And that's a big difference. And and you're in a foreign country. You would not know what restaurant to go to or whatever.
And here's the thing I'm going to tell you is I've been all over. So I've been 75 countries now that I've been to. And I have to tell you, the world's amazing. People are amazing. I've never met more kind, wonderful people that I have throughout the world.
Because we're basically exactly the same.
We are. And Senegal and Gambia, we were kind of nervous to go. And I'll tell you, those are the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And they were so good about, oh, don't drink this water here, drink this water. It was just, I feel such an appreciation for.
All right. So where can all the listeners find you if they want to plan a trip?
Well, MJ Tours on Facebook. We've got a group, and obviously they can contact you and get a hold of us, and we'd be able to help them out. And so Egypt's an amazing place. Don't be afraid to travel. Don't be afraid to take a moment for yourself, because whether you're with your loved one or you're taking a little bit of a respite, you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Lori. And now it's time to hear from our wonderful partners. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Choosing the right chiropractor is an important choice to make. Located in Seminole, the Alexander Spine Center team is trained on the latest chiropractic treatments and technologies. At Alexander Spine Center, you'll find chiropractic and physical therapy care that is safe, effective, and a natural approach to pain and other health-related issues. Chiropractic unlocks your body's potential and natural healing process to ensure your life is a healthy life. We treat clients from the womb to the tomb. Call 727-397-3000 for a free consultation today, or visit our website at www.alexanderspinecenter.com.
They take good care of me twice a week, so check them out.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know We understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
We believe the power of the human body and mind can do amazing things, and that tapping into that power, not just tricking it with a temporary disguise, is possible. Superpatch technology uses a special pattern and vibrotactile technology to help you go from feeling blah to hurrah. Now, once the Superpatch is in contact with your skin, it triggers a neutral response in the brainstem that helps you tackle your daily problems head on. Whether you're struggling with pain, balance, stress, or focus, we have a solution that might be right for you. With Superpatch's 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Hi, this is Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregivers. I started using the Liberty Patch over 3 years ago. I used to be a tripper, but since wearing a Liberty Patch, I haven't tripped once. The Liberty Patch is proven to reduce the risk of falling by up to 8 times. And as we all know, if you prevent the fall, you prevent the call. Don't wait until it's too late. Preventative solutions are the answer.
Superpatch does not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure illness. Superpatch is FDA registered. To receive 25% off your first order, go to sticktoit.info. That's sticktoit.info and learn more.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
And learn more. So we have a grief seminar coming up on February 25th with Dr. Alan Wolfelt. He's written more than 90 books on grief and loss. Some of his books have been absolutely fabulous. So he will be speaking on February 25th from 7 to 9 p.m. at North Bay Community Church on McMullen Booth in Clearwater. And you can call to register at 727-789-2000. And I'll put all the information on the show. Also, Dr. Peter Rabins, who is another expert on memory care, will be speaking March 21st from 10 to 1 at the Seminole City Park Parkview Room, sponsored by Arden Courts. So if you're interested in that, 727-512-9925. And then, the day before Dr. Peter Robbins, Linda Burhans will be speaking at Arden Courts in Largo, From Burnout to Balance, Rediscovering Joy in the Caregiver Journey. Free lunch, a lot of good time. So please RSVP to 727-543-8383. Thanks so much for tuning in this week. You know how much I appreciate you guys. Remember, God loves you all the time, and have a delicious day.